together a proposal to do watershed restoration, do the implementation of that in the Hatch and Mesilla Valley. Definitely want to thank all our partners, the city, everyone with the Stormwater Coalition, the Soil and Water Conservation Districts, Elephant Butte Irrigation District, tons and tons of partners for these projects. And thank you to U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and NMED for funding this restoration effort. So we knew we were interested in doing the project in the lower Rio Grande River. So here's the watershed here, and we knew that it was a priority as a priority watershed and had priority streams within that. So that was perfect for this grant, as well as we were able to benefit from the Paseo del Norte approved watershed plan. So since there was an approved watershed plan for the area, we were able to write a proposal just to do the implementation. So just zoomed in, looking at those priority implementation areas. So this grant is a Section 319 Clean Water Act grant funding. So looking at water quality, looking at the uses of the water, and how this restoration could benefit that. So, really thinking about kind of the functions of the stream or even the functions of the arroyos here, since they're all pretty much ephemeral streams. But, to move the water, to transport and deposit sediment, transport and replenish nutrients in the area, and where there is water, more having those biological functions that it's able to provide. So in river systems, we know that they have a different pattern that they use to dissipate the water energy. So that amount of water or that amount of sediment moving down the creek. And they do that by having the sinuosity as well as having the different patterns, having riffles, runs, and pools. So we had the benefit of a TMDL has already been written on the area for bacteria sources. And so as well as having the Paseo del Norte watershed plan. And so we were able to look at both of those documents and look at what were some of the things that they were concerned about. So impervious surfaces, urban parking lots, the municipal areas with stormwater issues, potential point source discharges, could be septic systems, confined animal feeding operations, grazing, as well as within the cities and where homeowners are, the waste from pets, as well as waterfowl and wildlife. So we knew that was some of the concerns. And so we also looked at what so thinking about those probable bacteria sources, looking at some of the management recommendations that were already included in that approved Paseo del Norte watershed plan, thinking about those management measures recommendations, and with these projects, we were able to do some of this sub-watershed restoration projects. You're going to see some more, talk a little bit about pet waste management in the neighborhood next to the arroyo for Sandhill Arroyo, as well as implementing some green infrastructure and low impact development. So you're going to see some more information about these today. And then, of course, Connie and the Stormwater Coalition are really looking at developing a regional strategy. This is just one grant that Connie and New Mexico Water Resources Research Institute has been able to get in the area. So she's going to talk a little bit more about kind of the regional scale and regional strategies. So we knew domestic pet waste was going to be an issue, and we didn't realize how big of an issue it was going to be until we went and surveyed Sandhill Arroyo. And we were we were joking about it being dog poo creek because there is so much dog pet waste in the arroyo. I have some pictures here in just a second. So there probably could be even more kind of management or outreach or education. I know they're looking at turning the Sandhill Arroyo into something more that might be that might be managed. And so maybe some signs or pet waste stations, bags. That's something that we need to talk about with the homeowners there in the city, but to help pick up and properly dispose of that pest waste. So they're letting it go in their arroyo, so when that next rain comes, it's washing all of that downstream. So in this project, we have three main projects. We have the Elephant Butte Irrigation District came to us with a project on their property at the Tortugas Dam along their emergency spillway to do some restoration there. You're going to hear, I have a few pictures of that next. Sand Hill Arroyo restoration above Lavender Road is one of the projects, and that's the one that we're going to go out and see later this afternoon. And then the Butler-Cawthorn Watershed restoration on the West Mesa. So, of course, to do these restoration efforts, we had a whole variety of required permits and approvals, multiple landowners. With the rain gardens, we did some education and got some of the homeowners to volunteer to put rain gardens in their yards. And we had to get that whole process approved by the HOA. and then, of course, the volunteer landowners. For the EBID Tortugas Emergency Spillway, that property was owned by EBID, so we just went through their review process, which was easy because they already had in mind what they wanted us to do at that project. The Sand Hill Arroyo was within the city of Las Cruces. It was a project on some of their land, some private land that we did the restoration there. And so we had to go through and put in several different permitting and construction easement permits for that. For the Butler-Cawthorn Watershed restoration, we had federal reviews and environmental assessments that had to be done. For this project, to do some of the monitoring that we're doing and doing the surveying, we had to do a quality assurance project plan. So all of these things took a little longer to get through all the different various review processes and permitting to be able to move forward with the restoration. So this was a 3-year grant project, and we were able to get an extension for a little bit longer. We've done the implementation, so now we're just trying to still do the water quality monitoring. So this was the initial design thoughts for the Tortugas Emergency Dam Spillway area. You can see, let's see, do I have a pointer? No, it doesn't work on there. So you can see the different flow paths that are coming down. In their original part, they were just talking about doing the ones on the property of EBID. We were able to go and work with NMSU and also be able to install practices even higher up the hill, up the topography, to put more practices on NMSU. So we had to go through their review process to do the restoration on their property as well. So you can see a little bit here. It's right. This is right next to the NMSU golf course. If you know where that is, we were parking in their parking lot to do this project. So they also, it's a little hard to tell from this view. So this really slopes down, and we have a lot of people riding bicycles, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, up and down that area. And we had a really terrible place right in here where it was eroding away. So they did some work to put in a rolling dip on the road there to help change the flow of that stormwater and better that project. So next we went out and we invited groups and folks from the Master Watershed Conservationist Group to come out with the contractors, Stream Dynamics and High Desert Native Plants. And we had 2 groups. We went through and put all the areas that we thought would be beneficial to build these structures. So the red is one group, the yellow was another group. That's the only difference there. It was all just pointing out where we could put one rock dam structures. So then we did a big volunteer event and invited folks to come out. We had some great response to that. This is just a little online registration that we did for that week that we were putting in structures. So we had different numbers of volunteers each day during that Monday through Thursday period. Oh no, my picture's turned. Sorry. But this is showing some of the group, and you can see the One Rock Dam structures here as we're going upslope. So the next project with the city of Las Cruces is the Sand Hill Arroyo restoration above Lavender Road. Okay, so this is Lavender Road. It goes through the arroyo, and so every time there's rain, the city has to go in and remove tons of sediment, sand off of the roadway here. So we were looking at the project all the way up to, this is Interstate 25, and this is Elks Road. So we worked there. You're going to see more pictures and see this afternoon about this whole arroyo location here. So this is a Google Earth picture, and it looks like there's a lot of vegetation in the creek. That vegetation is not there anymore. They did have to do a sewer line project, and when they came in, that removed and reduced a bunch of that existing vegetation. So now it's a very big, open, flat channel area. This is the neighborhood here that we worked with. You can see they have lots of concrete lines here and several places where the water was going up under those concrete structures. This is just a picture of the landowners. The green here was the city of Las Cruces land. This land here was a developer, and so we worked with him to get through approvals to be able to do this project on his land. This was a different landowner that owns these 3 lots, and he wasn't interested in working with us on the project, unfortunately. So right past his line onto the city line is where the project actually starts. So one of the things when we went out and surveyed this area, we realized that there was a lot of foot traffic, people walking their dogs, as well as motorcycle and side-by-side going up this arroyo. So we were like, we're going to put a bunch of grant money to put these restoration efforts on the ground, but we're going to need to protect them and not have those bicycles and motorcycles going up and over and messing up the restoration and reducing the vegetation as well. So we had a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions with the city of Las Cruces to try and come up with what would be a good solution, because obviously we do not want to impede any of that water or flow under it. And so our contractors, Mike and Van, Mike said, how about we do a nice fence for the people? And so we had to put the fence up in multiple areas. You'll see this afternoon, to kind of help keep people out and protect it, but not impede the flow paths of that project. So a lot of effort went into coming up with this fence, and the homeowners love it. So that's been really great. So this is just one of the pictures. Every darker piece is some pet waste. So there's a lot of pet waste in this arroyo. So when you're walking around, be mindful of that this afternoon. So, just thinking back to the stormwater and the factors that affect the fate of rainfall with those rainfall events, we're really thinking about how those are impacted and how to work within those. So you're going to see some more information. But trying to move some of these things closer to properly functioning conditions. So we really need that physical function that helps provide all of these. And if you have the physical function of adequate vegetation, which is really, really difficult in this area, landform or large woody debris, which we don't really have much large woody debris. So you'll see in a lot of these, we're coming in with wood and with rock structures to try and put in that landform to move the physical function to provide the values that we would like to see. So this is Tortugas Arroyo. This is south of the emergency dam. But you can see every time it rains, I was standing here and the bank was just sloughing off while I was taking the pictures. So we also wanted to do some things to promote green infrastructure, in particular rain gardens in that watershed. And so we have the huge subdivision that has cul-de-sacs where the road comes down the road, hits the cul-de-sac, and goes through a cement chute to the arroyo. You'll get to see some of that today. And so we thought if we could put in some rain gardens to kind of help get people thinking about that, keeping vegetation in their yard, trying to keep some of the water, storm water in their yard, instead of going straight down the street into the arroyo. So we developed a flyer, and Laura and I went around, walked around the neighborhood, drove around the neighborhood, handed out flyers. I taped them on they have the big boxes for their posts to go get their mail. So I taped it on the sides a couple times. Don't tell anyone. We don't know who did that, but we got folks to call us and to talk to us. There was 2 landowners that this wouldn't really work on their property, just the way that the property was shaped or the vegetation, or some of them had different levels with rock walls, that it wouldn't work. But we were able to put in 3 rain gardens, and we talked to a lot of people in the neighborhood about this issue. So this is the flyer. Mike is our leading man here. So we put together just a front and back that would fold over. So this is actually the back side. That's the front of it. And then this is what was inside. So you can see Sand Hill Arroyo running here from I-25. This is Elks. This is that neighborhood that we were able to work with and we targeted for those rain gardens. Okay, so our third project is the Butler-Cawthorn Watershed Restoration, and I'm going to turn it over to Connie to talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about Upper Watershed Restoration in my next presentation, but this is the project that you guys are going to see tomorrow in the workshop, and I assume that between Mike and Van, you guys are probably going to talk about this project in detail. Are you going to have pictures and things like that?
Yes.
Okay. So I won't talk about it a whole lot, but what this is an example, it is within the city limits, or is it not? Actually, I think it might not.
I think it's
I think it's in the
just
county.
outside the city limits. But it's an example of a watershed which is very close to the city. And because this is a 319 project, we're also monitoring for the TMDL, the impaired pollutant, which is E. coli. And so we have Jeff Smith with us, the biologist working on this project. I wanted Jeff to talk a little bit about the E. coli monitoring.
Okay. Well, let me start with the Rincon work that I did in 2023 with Mike. He had a team of students from El Paso, and I joined them in the afternoon, and I was paired with an NMSU scholar athlete named Adam from Kenya, long distance runner, and wore me into that. But it was a blast to see that I came in to be part of that installation up in Rincon. And so since then, we've been capturing E. coli and then monitoring turbidity as the surrogate for all that sediment flow that we're concerned about and the erosion. And so now Mike and his team have installed these installations to slow the water down, to take the energy out. And we're now going to install samplers again, these ISCO samplers, which have been taking a beating up in Rincon because for many, many years we've been in drought. But this year they're not, so feast to famine. Our ISCO samplers, particularly one, have been bowled over, and we have them chained down so that people won't steal them, but they are chained down so they will not go washing down the flash flood. Twice that's happened, and one of our samplers has maintained refrigeration. The sample is still there. And he's the only one, and I call him P now. He's R2D2. I bonded with one sampler who is tough and loyal to our project. I've gotten bowled over a couple of times. So we're installing those same remote samplers. We don't want to be out there sampling ourselves in flash flood conditions here at the Butler-Codler sample site. And I have a graduate student, Caleb Fyock, who's working with me, as well as Kaustoff. So a couple of graduate students have worked with EMA. So there's been 3 graduate students working on this project over the last few years. So, little introduction to the work.
That was great. Thank you.